everybody. So today I want to talk about kind of the history of the Halloween costume and how it has evolved over the years from kind of like the origins of Halloween until today, because I don't know, I was just kind of curious about this. We've all seen the old-timey pictures of what Halloween used to be with weird scary masks, and I was just curious about kind of like how it all evolved. So I'm going to share what I learned about the history of Halloween costumes today. Halloween originated from a Celtic festival called Samhain, which was celebrated by lighting bonfires and wearing costumes to ward off spirits and fairies. During the celebration, the costumes acted as protection, so Celts would dress up as animals and monsters to avoid harm. In the 19th century, people would dress in costume for many holidays and events like New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day, so unsurprisingly, Halloween was when people would wear their more spooky costumes. From 1870 to 1890, people would dress up in handmade costume with spooky themes like witches or ghosts or even the moon, but the costumes weren't necessarily supposed to be certain characters like Harley Quinn or Spider-Man, which were some of the more popular costumes last year. The goal back then was just to look kind of generally creepy while representing the Halloween holiday. Starting in the 1900s, Halloween became a little bit more popular, but people were still making their costumes at home. The only commercially made costumes were paper masks and aprons for children. They were meant to be worn once and then just thrown away, and this is around the time that Halloween got its color scheme of yellow, black, orange, and purple. In the 1920s and 30s, Halloween became more centered around keeping children occupied to avoid vandalism. So this led to popular costumes being things that children enjoyed, like characters from comics and movies. Big department stores began selling costumes, but they were considered a more luxury item, so most costumes were still made at home. And Mickey and Minnie Mouse were very popular costumes around this time. Since then, Halloween trends pretty much followed cultural trends, and in the 50s, mass-produced costumes became a lot more affordable, so popular costumes around this time were princesses, mummies, and clowns, or popular characters like Batman or Frankenstein's monster. In the 60s, we had the Addams Family, the Beatles, Barbie, and women started wearing more like sexy costumes, which back then were tighter clothes, shorter skirts, and heavier makeup. In the 70s, Halloween costumes for adults began to get a little bit more political. In 1969, a protester wore a Nixon mask to an anti-war rally, and after the Watergate scandal, a lot of Americans became a lot more cynical regarding their government, so the Nixon mask was one of the most popular costumes for that time and continues to be a really popular costume today, and since then, politicians' faces have been turned into masks every year for Halloween. During this period, Star Wars characters were extremely popular and still are, and the E.T. alien was a very popular costume around this time. And the 70s and 80s slasher movies immediately made Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees classic Halloween horror costumes. And Halloween always had like a dark and creepy vibe, but it wasn't until the popularity of those slasher films that Halloween costumes started to become more bloody and violent and gory. In the 90s, sexy costumes for women became an established product, so think like sexy nurse, sexy maid, sexy bunny. This time period also brought us costumes based on controversial current events like O.J. Simpson, and this is also when people began wearing ironic costumes or like non-costumes, so like French fries or candy or like crayons. Basically just taking any item and just turning it into a costume. From then on, Halloween costumes primarily center around pop culture. You can be a sexy or a scary version of anything. Kids dress up as Disney princesses or Marvel superheroes. Costumes like clowns or cowboys that used to be really intricate and handmade have now become your last minute option that you throw together with whatever's in your closet. And a lot of people opt for costumes that are just puns. So if you want to figure out the most popular costume for that year, all you have to do is look at what's most popular on TV, in movies, or current events. I think it's interesting that people used to dress up all year long in costume for whatever event, and Halloween was mostly just reserved for like the spooky and scary and the dark, but now Halloween is kind of a catch-all. You can wear whatever you want, you can be whatever you want in any kind of theme. So it's interesting how it evolved in that way. Personally, I would love for there to be a Halloween celebration once every month, but maybe it's a good thing that it's just once a year, so it feels a little bit more special. But I always feel like Halloween or October in general just has a very magical, happy energy to it, so I love it. I'm really looking forward to see how Halloween and Halloween costumes evolve over my lifetime, because a lot can change in just a few decades. Well, that's what I learned about Halloween costumes. Let me know what your favorite Halloween costume is, one that you've done or that you want to do. Let me know what else you want to see from me. I post twice a week here, but during the month of October I am posting twice as much, so I've got a lot more Halloween and spooky content planned for the remainder of the month, so subscribe if you want to see more. All of my social media will be linked down below. If you want to be friends, let's be friends. And as always, I just want to say thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!